Frankie Russo out of Brooklyn. How you all doing? Hope you all had a great weekend. This is Sunday night. Okay, y'all. It's Frankie Russo. I'm getting ready to I'm getting ready to move my laptops over to another platform. So I'm working on that. I worked on it all weekend. So we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna, with the grace of God, we'll get that done, and I'll be podcasting because that's the goal. Very short, with the grace of God, this week, I hope. That's the goal. We'll see how it rolls with the other stuff. Okay, so we're gonna start with the Russo disclaimer. We're on the outside looking in. Court papers, judges' decisions, peer-reviewed journal articles, and well-researched, well-sourced, open-source articles. No Congressional Oversight Committee, no International Atomic Energy Agency, no chiefs of staff, no National Security Council. We're on the outside looking in. We don't have access to any classified documents, nor do we know anybody who does. The Russo disclaimer. We are in search of, in all likelihood, in all probability, quote unquote, statistical significance. This is a quasi model. We try to model as much as we can, but subjectivity in this. Hey, look above me. Look above. I got the Trump sign, so there it is. There is subjectivity here, but I try to be as honest as I can be with the data. Very honest and fair and reasonable. Okay, that's my attempt. Russo disclaimer. Okay. So we left off. I wanted to go where we left off with this thing. All right. I just want to keep everybody. We left off with, because we're in Sudan still. But before we go to Sudan, I want to hit some current articles. We'll get to this one after. This is an interesting article. We'll get to this one after. Okay. So we're in Sudan still, but I'm not gonna fit. I don't want to go to Sudan yet. I want to hit some of the articles I pulled off, just like some spots, and then we're gonna hit the. Right. With a lot of this stuff. I tell you, this is, I guess this is where we're going. Okay. I thought I had a few other stuff about what was popping, but I didn't. This is all I pulled off I thought I pulled some stuff off Drudge, but I'm going right here. Okay, good. So we're gonna start with this. I'm going right into Sudan. Now, just to give you all an idea. Obama administration, this is the Washington Post. Right? They hate Trump. All right. So this is not fake news. Huffington Post reported it. The Huffington Post reported it. New York Times reported it. This is not fake news. Obama administration to lift some sanctions against Sudan. So United States. Okay. So what I'm basically going to do now is bring this Sudan thing more forward, and then we're going to go back again. The United States back to the 90s. Right now, we're going to the 2000s around Obama's time. All right. The United States will ease some financial sanctions against Sudan in recognition of what Obama says are small areas of improvement in fighting terrorism and other U.S. goals. The move, which lifts elements of a U.S. trade embargo in place since the Clinton administration, is a show of goodwill towards the government of long-time Sudanese leader Omar Hassan al-Bashir. But the changes would not fully take into effect for 6 months, allowing the incoming Trump administration, with the grace of God, hopefully, to access whether the progress continues or reverse the policy. So this is the Washington Post. They hate Trump, so this is real news. This is real news in my world. Real news. Huffington Post reported it, and so did the New York Times. All right. So I'm just bringing the Sudan thing up to date. Obama's time now. We're in Obama's time. Then I'm going to go back to the 90s. Okay. So that's one article. Now we got WikiLeaks cables claim that Sudanese President Omar Bashir stashed $9 billion in UK banks. So what we're doing now is this is in this is the Guardian, okay, but it's in many other publications. But this was a very good print copy I could get. But they're claiming that WikiLeaks cables, the Omar al-Bashir, the Sudanese president, stashed $9 billion in UK banks. Now, just for the record, the UK banks, I think Lloyd's Banking Group claims that there's no money under his name. That's what I read. These cables were released as WikiLeaks editor-in-chief Julian Assange accused. So he's accused yes of mounting an aggressive illegal. Okay, so this is what. So London Bank in London may be holding or knowledge. So the basically al-Bashir has siphoned as much as $9 billion out of his impoverished country to Sudan. Much of it is stashed in London banks, according to a secret U.S. diplomatic cable that recount conversations with the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, which his name is Luis Morano Ocampo. So he's the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, and this is around Obama time. So I'm bringing. Oh, this is 2000. This is not even this, but this is in the 2010s. This is 2010s. So I'm going to go back to the 90s after I put this I put this to the forefront. So we're trying to figure out what's going on in Sudan, because this is where I believe they start to make sense of things. I don't know. We'll see. I have no idea. So we got WikiLeaks cables of this Omar al-Bashir, Muslim Brotherhood, wanted by the United States national government for 4 to 10 million. National Counterterrorism Center website for crimes against humanity. Okay, so, and this Lloyd's Banking Group claims according to Lloyd's Bank, we absolutely have no evidence to suggest there is any connection between Lloyd's Banking Group and al-Bashir. The group's policy is to abide by the legal and regulatory obligations in all jurisdictions in which we operate. That's what they claim. Okay, so that's that article that came out, and I got another one on the. So I'm going to bring this front and center. We're bringing this front and center. So just here's another one from the FT. This is a European. I think it's German or Russian. One of those countries. This is European FT. No, my mistake. Financial Times. I was thinking about RT. This Financial Times article. Barack Obama orders easing of sanctions against Sudan. This was in 2000, January 13, 2017 by Sean Donnan. Here's this article. 9 billion. Okay, so he ordered the easing of sanctions against Sudanese Omar al-Bashir, the highest ranking. Well, I guess Erdogan is the highest, I guess. Turkey, NATO. So there it is. Okay, so there's that. And then we got the another. I just want to confirm this with everybody. There's multiple sources. The Telegraph.com. I'm not saying these are, but after a while, you know, WikiLeaks Sudan's president stashed $9 billion. Here it is again. A leaked cable suggests that Omar Bashir may have siphoned over $9 billion from his country's oil boom. WikiLeaks Sudan's president stashed $9 billion. Omar al-Bashir. Now, Sudan Tribune. WikiLeaks Sudan president stashed billions in secret bank accounts, according to the International Criminal Courts. That's Luis Morano Ocampo. He's the prosecutor of the ICC prosecutor. Here it is here. Sudan Tribune. Okay, now, what does this all mean? You know, like These are the reasons why. And then I got these pictures, but I'm leaving them from last week. Malik Obama and Hassan al-Turabi. He's the close confidant of Osama bin Laden. He is the father of Muslim Brotherhood in Sudan in the 60s. He started it, the chapter there. Hassan al-Turabi. He died in March of last year with Malik Obama there. And now we got, these are just pictures, but just to give you an idea, to put some images to this. Omar al-Bashir and Hassan al-Turabi. Close confidant to Omar al-Bashir, who coup d'etat in the 89, 90s, right? And then we got the clock boy with Omar al-Bashir. Remember the clock boy? What is going on here, right? So that's where we are. Now, so far we took U.S. versus bin Laden, Owens versus Sudan cases off the investigativproject.org. And then we have the 1998 Sudan bombings, which I haven't gone into. I'm not going to go into tonight, but we're going to go into this week. And we have the testimony of Dr. Matthew Levitt, who's an expert. We took from these cases, the Owens, specifically the Owens versus Sudan case. So this is what we've garnered from the case from the briefs that we've gotten so far. Sudan in the 90s, right? They had meeting in 91, April of 91, meetings of all of the global jihadists. So just to give you an idea, here's the breakdown. We're starting with this now. This is just a tip of the iceberg. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit now briefly. So now we've got Omar al-Bashir, Sudan dictator. He's a Muslim Brotherhood, the highest ranking Muslim besides, I guess, Erdogan from Turkey. Hassan al-Turabi, he's the father of Muslim Brotherhood, very close confidant in Sudan in the 60s, right? Tied in with Osama bin Laden and Ayman al-Zawahiri they're both Muslim. These are 4 Muslim Brotherhood operatives. Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is considered in mainstream media and mainstream intelligence community as the militant branch of Muslim Brotherhood. Now, according to the Owens case, we got strong ties between Osama bin Laden and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps and Hezbollah. Is the Quds Force there? Probably. I haven't really looked into it yet. But they're in the 90s in Sudan now. We're in the 90s now. 1990, April of 91, according to the court papers. We got Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Hezbollah, with Osama bin Laden, Omar al-Bashir, and Hassan al-Turabi. 2010 to 2017, $9 billion Omar al-Bashir has in UK banks. So let's see, okay? Now, what are the other groups that were there that we know of, according to U.S. versus bin Laden, Owens versus Sudan? Okay, we know the National Islamic Front Organization was there. Hezbollah, we said. Palestinian Islamic Jihad, which if I'm not mistaken, the Blind Sheikh is from. Egyptian Islamic Jihad, and others. This was like a meeting in the 90s. We're going to Sudan for these meetings to see how they could work together, whether there's, well, we have the Sunni and the Shias, how they can work together to stop America, the West, and American allies like Israel. Okay? Now, what the Blind Sheikh, now I want to talk about the Blind Sheikh for a minute. Now, the Blind Sheikh, on the bottom here, the Blind Sheikh, Omar Abdel Rahman, right? The Blind Sheikh. Now, the Blind Sheikh, I talk about him all the time. He's the father of homeland terrorism in America. He came out of Egypt, 11. He was born because of diabetes. He was born blind. He memorized the Quran, wrote. He's got a PhD in Al-Azhar University, where Obama did his infamous It's a New Beginning speech in Cairo, Egypt. He got a PhD there, and in Al-Azhar University, their philosophy is ISIS is Islamic. So the Blind Sheikh was involved in according to court papers, the assassination of Anwar Sadat. And they were going to kill him, basically, for killing Anwar Sadat, the prime minister of Egypt, right? So what did he do? He pleaded in defense, the Quran, so they threw him out of Egypt. And there's rumors that he went to Sudan. There's rumors. There's strong rumors. I've seen some, but I'm going to dig him up. I have to dig it up this week. The blind sheik. He may be there as well, because if I'm not mistaken, he's either with the Palestinian Islamic Jihad or the Egyptian Islamic Jihad, one of those groups. He's with Muslim Brotherhood. He's a Muslim Brotherhood operative as well, the blind sheik. Now, who else was there? Well, we know that Malik Obama is the secretary of this group called Dawa Islamic Council in Sudan, right? Something just came to my head. It's in Sudan, right? So Malik Obama we know he's the secretary of this non-for-profit. I don't know if it's not-for-profit. It's supposed to be a charitable organization. Who knows, right? We seem to be all these radicalisms. That's how they steal money. I'm seeing anyway. The Dawa Islamic Council, which is headed by Omar al-Bashir. This is in Sudan. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I'm about to get a world map, because we're going to go in deep on this stuff. I'm going to get a world map, hopefully within the next few days. I'm going to get it from Amazon, and I'm going to bring it in here. And I read somewhere where Sudan, I think Kenya, either borders Sudan or is very close to Sudan. One of those Sudan. We'll get into that too this week, because was Barack Obama there? Was Barack Obama there in the 90s? I don't know. I don't believe the narrative that came out. Let's put it this way. I don't believe the narrative that came out. I don't believe the narrative that came out on Obama, Hawaii, and all this, the traveling. I just don't believe it. There's a lot of hodgepodge. It's fragmented. It's fragmented. So I don't know. It's like, to me, it's like fragments, and it's just spliced together. It just doesn't make any sense. The moving around. So I'm not sure if he was there, but we're going to find out if he was. I'm going to try my best anyway. We know Clark Boy was in Sudan. Now, what ties this together? Well, I'm going to find out more about it. I know there was a bank that was rumored to be formed by Osama bin Laden called Al Shalom. If I'm not mistaken, we're going to talk about this tomorrow. Al Shalom Bank was formed in Sudan, if I'm not mistaken, Khartoum. So bin Laden, if he didn't form it, at the least he helped establish it with his money. Don't forget, he's a Muslim Brotherhood. He's of the Muslim Brotherhood, the Saudi Arabia branch of Muslim Brotherhood. So he went to Sudan, seeking a safe haven, because he was, if everybody's aware of it, Osama bin Laden was an unindicted co-conspirator Osama bin Laden was an unindicted co-conspirator on the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. He was. So that's what we got there. We got Al Shalom. It could be the connecting factor here, because according to Shubat, the former PLO operative, now Christian, now he's a investigative reporter reporting on Malik Obama, Barack Obama, and Omar al-Bashir. Talks about the bank that this Dawa Islamic Council uses is Al Shalom. So maybe we can get a tie there and really see how this thing plays out, because we got this Al Shalom bank that was established, at the least was established by bin Laden, or financed by bin Laden at the least. And then we got Omar al-Bashir siphoning $9 billion in UK banks. So we're going to put this whole thing together. This is a really, really, I mean, I can't, right now, I'm still trying to make a headway with it. I believe we're just scratching the surface with this thing. Omar al-Bashir. See, what's really crazy, I know, because right now Iran and Sudan, according to published reports, they're not really getting, they're not working together as much as they were in the 90s, where the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps actually helped him with his coup d'état, Omar al-Bashir's coup d'état. So I know because of Saudi Arabia and I guess money, because Sudan has been aligned. Sudan has aligned with Saudi Arabia. I believe that to be. I'm pretty close to saying that's pretty true. There was recently before that, Sudan and Iran worked very closely together. Omar al-Bashir, obviously, going all the way back to his coup d'état. So I don't know the full. We're gonna tie this whole thing together. Turkey, I know, speaks highly of Erdogan speaks highly of Omar Bashir. Egypt, see, these are interesting countries. Like Turkey's a interesting geopolitical country, as well as Egypt is. Egypt is supporting the opposition to Omar al-Bashir. So this is interesting. So we're going to look at this further. I'm going to look into we're going to look into the '98 bombing of the Sudan bombing under Clinton. We're going to look into this Al Shalom Bank. I'm going to look into the blind sheik, and we're going to look at the bomber. Because you can call me what you want. You can call me a freaking whack job, a white boy, whatever. I'm not. I just don't believe the narrative of Barack Hussein Obama. I don't believe that he was born in Hawaii, and I don't believe. I believe he was born. He's either one of the other narratives. I don't know which one they are, but it's one of those. And his brother just released, it's my understanding, his brother released Barack Obama's Kenyan birth certificate. So I don't know. So was Obama out in Sudan with Malik Obama in the 90s? The clock boy was out there. Was the blind sheik there with Omar al-Bashir, Hassan al-Turabi, Osama bin Laden, Ayman al-Zawahiri, Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Hamas, National Islamic Front, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Egyptian Islamic Jihad? What is going on over here? What is going on? I have no idea. All I know is this happened in the 90s, right? 2017, Omar al-Bashir, according to WikiLeaks diplomatic cables, he has siphoned $9 billion in UK banks. What does this mean? I have no idea. But we're going to find out. I am very interested to see where this takes us. I thought it was very significant that the clock boy ends up taking a picture with Omar al-Bashir during that fake, fraudulent. He didn't even create the clock. They said he got it at a department store. It was a setup, and the mainstream media and the White House, the Obama White House, ran with it. How does the clock boy end up with a picture, taking a picture with Omar Bashir? I don't know. So we got basically the 1998 Sudan bombings. I'm going to investigate. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We're going to talk more about this Al Shalom Bank in Sudan, because I know Osama bin Laden is involved with that bank, and we know that Malik Obama, the Dawah Islamic Council in Sudan, headed by Omar Bashir, is involved with that bank as well. And so this is where we are right now. So there is a method to our craziness that people think. I believe, because just to give you another thing to think about, and this is where I'm, I don't know if you could say this is a stretch, maybe not, but I found this, which I thought was pretty extraordinary. So we got two things which right? And I'm going to close it. I'm just going to show you the headlines. So here's the headlines I got. Islamists featured in Countering Violent Extremism Summit. Obama refuses to acknowledge Muslim terrorists at summit. Countering jihadists with U.S. teach-ins. These were the headlines in February of 2015. Obama had a summit like they had the summits in Sudan. I'm not saying this is, I don't know yet, but he had a summit there. It was like a PowerPoint summit on how we can counter violent extremism. Now the press, the media was not giving the attendee list until I think after the summit. I'm trying to find it, so I'm going to look for that as well. And we're going to talk about this tomorrow during the week. We're going to see if this is another play, another like now they went from Sudan, the global jihadists. They're Muslim. These are Muslim brothers. I'm not saying every one of the radical Islamists that were in the White House were Muslim Brotherhood, but a lot of them were. And I guarantee you, many that attended a lot of them were there that attended this countering violent extremism summit that Obama, where he blacked out the media, and you didn't know who was attending. Was that an Islamist beginning of an Islamist takeover? They were planning something in Sudan in the 90s. I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm not saying this is true. I'm just throwing this out there. I don't know. I'm trying to see if there's a tie-in somewhere, because you got to understand, these radical Islamists, they have 50, 40, 20, 30 aliases. They're very hard to, and then in addition, you would think, well, a minister of defense or a minister of justice or a minister of foreign affairs, they're not radical Islamists. You'd be shocked. Ahmadinejad was the president of Iran, and he's a former Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. On Iran, a member. On Iran, I don't know how it is now, but I know in a not too recent past, and not too distant past, I think it was 12 of the 21 cabinet members were, some number like that, were Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps members. The Minister of Defense, the Minister of Justice, here's one, the Minister of Justice in Gaddafi's regime was Mustafa Abdul Jalal. Mustafa Abdul Jalal was also a member of the Transnational Council, Claire Lopez, WikiLeaks, and he was the one, and him and Abdul Hakim Belhaj were the two that were propped by USA Operation Zero Footprint to the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group to do the coup d'etat, real or fake, against Gaddafi. And he was a minister of justice in the Gaddafi regime. So I don't get, you hear these people from their governments. These radical Islamists they don't tell the truth, and it's in their Quran that they can lie to the non-believers. They can lie to the infidels. It's in their Quran. So it is what it is. Okay, so this is what we're looking at. I'm just throwing this out there: the Obama-Clinton administration, Obama-Clinton crime family, and this countering violent extremism. Very suspect here. We're going to see if there's a connection. We're going to try. We're going to see if we can make a statistically significant connection in some way. Okay, so that's where we're at tonight. Interesting. We got a few things we're going to look at. All right, so we're going to look at the Al Shalom Bank, which I think is a very interesting one. We're going to look at the bombings, the 1998 bombings. We're going to see if there's any tie-ins, any remnants of Obama and Kenya and Sudan with Omar al-Bashir and Malik Obama, what actual tie-ins there are. And we're going to still look at this in April of 91, according to Owens versus Sudan and U.S. versus bin Laden. April 91 is where they had these global jihad meetings in Sudan. So, and if there's any sort of tie-in between that and the counter violent extremism, is this counter violent extremism a more sophisticated, to show the sophistications of this global jihad movement that was in the White House? I don't know. But some real shifty, shady stuff went down over there. And to black out the media, to black out the American people from actually knowing who's attending, who's in the White House, who's attending this counter violent extremism summit, what I thought was quite I don't know. It's quite alarming, to say the least. So that's where we're at. We look into the Blind Sheik as well tomorrow, definitely. And Al Shalom Bank, definitely look into that. Okay? This is the Frankie Russo Show. We're going to head now to Scope. I'll see you in a few minutes. This is the Frankie Russo Show. Yeah, yeah, yeah. See you tomorrow night. I'm working toward moving these laptops to a different setup where I'm eventually, with the grace of God, by the end of the week, I'll be podcasting this segment. I'll be recording it on a new platform and podcasting it so you can get the podcast as well. Okay, so we're going to keep moving, and we're going to keep looking in search of, in all likelihood, in all probability, a quasi. This is, there is subjectivity. Just look above. I am a Trump supporter. I don't lie about it. But I do attempt to reach fair and reasonable conclusions, in all likelihood, in all probability. And you see how we lay it out. We're into U.S. bin Laden, Owens versus Sudan, the 1998 Sudan bombings, Dr. Matthew Levitt's testimony. We are moving. This is just the Sudan meetings, the Sudan global jihad meetings in the 90s. This data is just the tip of the iceberg. With Osama bin Laden, Omar al-Bashir, Hassan al-Turabi, Ayman al-Zawahiri, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, Hamas, National Islamic Front, Hezbollah, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Egyptian Islamic Jihad, and others. And then who was there? Malik Obama. The Blind Sheik, maybe. Clock Boy, we have a picture. He took a picture with, so he was there. And was Barack Obama there? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I know Kenya is not very, according to, I'm about to get a world map. And I know Kenya isn't far, according to the stuff I've read, Kenya's not far from Sudan. They may even border. So we'll see, okay? This is the Frankie Russo Show. I'll see you tomorrow night, hopefully early, like this time, 8 o'clock or earlier. And I'll see you in the future.